Welcome everyone to bnb.org. We call this place our where home. For our guests, obviously. Just total disclosure, I'm very friendly. I'm feeling very emotional right now. So I'm going to take just a couple minutes to kind of tee up the share. Please excuse me if I'm shaking a little bit. Our intention today is to hear a couple of speakers talk about a story, a real life story, that helps us to anchor in our connection to organizations. And as a company, and as a website, this year has been very significant for us as we have leaned in to creating impact on our website above and beyond supporting people with their D&B related needs. And this has been a vision and desire for quite some time. And this year we officially launched our Organization Initiative, which is the first time we officially invested company time and company resources to be able to create impact in the world. It's not designed simply to return financial dividends, but to be able to create positive impact on society. And to date, we have actually gotten our website situated in the way that we engage with our users and create options for our users, that we're seeing about 1,000 people per month to state-specific organization registration pages. That's something we feel very pleased and very accomplished with. Our goal is to continue to progress further so that we're sending up to 1,000 people per week to organ donation registration pages in order to be able to increase the density of organ donors in America so that we can help to serve those that are dealing with terminal illnesses and help to connect people that have passed with people that are in need. And it's my hope that as we better understand, better comprehend, and better feel in this issue, that we can not only continue to have energy and priority towards using our website to make positive impact in society, but also we can really feel connected to the results and we can really feel connected to the impact. And we see the numbers, we can have faces to go along with those numbers to be able to deepen that sense of purpose and value. So this story that we're here to share today is one that's actually personal for myself. I grew up with a childhood friend named Richie Bouchard. He wasn't one of my best friends. We didn't spend a tremendous amount of time together, one-on-one, but he was in all of my classes in elementary school. And our families went to church together, and our families actually worked together, did business together. And Richie was a very happy, very lighthearted, contagiously smiling type of person. And when Richie was 17, the Bouchard family was actually working with my dad to build a home, and Richie was a part of that construction project. And one day, Richie was actually kind of showcasing like being a pretty tough, pretty independent guy, and carrying a very large beam by himself across the foundation to get it from one place to the next. And he put that beam down at the end of the workday, kind of halfway accomplished. And I don't know if it was that night or that weekend, but there was a fatal accident. Some kind of activities that he was involved with had to do with the automobile. And Richie had an injury to his brain. injured the head, which resulted in irreparable brain damage, and we lost Richie. And that was something that really sent very significant shockwaves through the Bouchard family and through our church congregation and through our school and through our whole network in Vista, which is where we were able to go. Despite the fact that Richie and I hadn't been super tight friends, he was the type of person that had been in my life since I was a little kid, and someone I absolutely took for granted, which is always be him. And there came a day when that was no longer the case, and that was something that was a very big surprise for all of us. It was almost hard for us to imagine that someone who was so happy and had so much positive love to be able to give to the world around him had come to a faith at such a young age. And one of the things I'll say before I turn the time over to Steve and Charlie is that beam that Richie had been carrying across that foundation prior to this accident actually just stayed in that place. And the construction project went on halt because of this fatality that had been a part of the construction team. And the home that was being built was actually our home, the Glacier home. And my dad, in the background, was a contractor, and we were building a home for our family. And my dad decided to actually take that beam and instead of use it for the intended structural purpose in the house, that it was actually treated and created as a mantelpiece. And so we have that piece of Richie to kind of constantly be reminded of in our living room. And so when I think about that mantelpiece, I see that it's a part of Richie that for our family at least, it continues to live on. And we saw him when we experienced kind of the sentimental connection to him on a very daily basis. And now we lean into this conversation around organ donations because I didn't know that Richie was organ donor. I was 17 at the time, and there were questions that I was asking. But just a couple months ago, I came across Steve. Steve's Richie's older brother. And I asked him just how's the family, how's everything. And Steve had mentioned about Richie being an organ donor, and about Charlie, who's the recipient of Richie's heart. And the story that went along with it, and there's a lot of emotions involved to realize that this friend who we loved and knew and cared so much about, who we were so sad that we had lost, had actually gone on to be a lifesaver to others, and to realize how that circle of life really carried out for someone who we cared so much about. So that's kind of my simple introduction into who Richie Bouchard is, and how that affected me and my family directly. And what I'd like to do next is invite Steve to come up and share a little bit about the story that his family went through around Steve's passing. And following that, we'll invite Charlie to come up as a recipient to be able to share a little bit about his story and what it was like to be the recipient of a heart.
Welcome.
Thank you. Something I thought that might be able to speak, I might be able to speak about for a long time, but never really known when or where or with who I'd be sharing it. So, glad to be here. Planet, I'm not a professional speaker. Try to say as little as possible all day long. this about everybody in the room here,
Nice.
and not me. We're just the vessels, Charlie and I and Richie, and like everybody else in here. And there comes points in our lives where we have to make decisions, hard ones. Sometimes the toughest decisions are good ones and the great ones. And I asked my mother, my dad, what would you like that I should share last night? And I'm here today, but Charlie's invited over, come over. He's been over before to cook my mother a meal, give her a hug. And my dad said that it was the toughest decision you've ever had to make as a family. And as you're promoting it, life, just be aware of the sensitivity, the timing. Even though you know you're doing the right thing, and it might become more of a right thing, 10, 20, 30 years later when you know we affected. But at that crisis moment of the family, it's tough on me, his family to do so. And, we got to be a part of a group in San Diego that allows donors and donees to come together, and it was pretty neat. There was letters that went on for almost 10 years before when Mom and Charlie met. And it's all been good. So last night trying to prepare what I was going to say, and I was had a late day helping a neighbor over here at San Marcos at the Bogey Ranch. And then Richie's never met my younger son, Jaden. And they're like, it's like him back again. And we came home late, dinner had already been served, so we went out to get price out burritos. That's started back to what I was going to say. But you would have understood that. But follow your heart, guys. We exist so much in our day and age. Follow your heart. Follow your dreams as they let together. We don't always know where we're going, and we, try to lead a group or a family's decision or kids at Legoland down a path that you don't always know where it's going. But it got you. He was going down a street called Boynton Creek down in Vista, and went out a window, hit his head on the asphalt real hard. I was up in Utah going to school at Southern Utah University and got a phone call and knew that pretty much we were going to lose him. And found a small plane, got out of there, came down to the hospital. It was in Escondido. One of the big deciding factors with donors going through this is they're going to start picking parts too soon. My brother, my cousin, my son, my baby, whoever's there, and because it was a head trauma, the state actually comes in. It's like flatlining of a heart, but it's flatlining of the brain. It's like the mother pulls it down. And it's John, and it's not going to wake up. It's not concussion. It's not, something that you come out of. So, even though the heart from a family of pretty strong faith, where if anybody can walk in there, call upon the powers of God, and if so be it, then you can say, get up and walk. And we're raised to have that kind of faith. I was looked at to be the person to give the blessing to the chief. And as soon as I was asked to do that, and stepped into that blessing, and give a blessing to the chief, I knew that the words weren't, get up and walk. I knew that you had another path. And rather than struggle with, trying to force it into, the blessing to be well and to be healed, it was a release, and release from the here and now. At least as we do it. And so we're all energy, and energy continues. And I was able to go out to Burning Man in 2006. Little did I know Charlie was there. I had no idea. I was following my heart. My parents are like, what the heck? That's just the opposite of what they used to do. There I was on 3rd and East Street, on 3rd and 930. See you at 930. And I think we're a couple blocks away from each other. So, we're all connected. Really close. And, the decision, Richie was not a donor on his driver's license. And I know as you're talking to family members, however go about it, make that decision. I jumped up knowing that, with the mishap of our family, that this could be a decision that, maybe he was scared at his age. And it was after knowing that he was no longer with us. It was in the waiting room. I remember it really vividly, sitting down and just having a freak out, feeling of emotion that, he doesn't think these organs, he's gonna bless somebody else. I knew somehow it was a ripple effect, bigger than the pain of it at that time. And I did, I went against a 17-year-old's decision at the time. And then against kind of what we believe in as far as religion, would have dictated that we do. So I was really going against the water. And there was someone in the hospital next to me, and he gave me something, and we got a visit from a bishop at the time, and we went up talking to my mother and my father about it. He brought it all in with, Jesus was a similitude of God's Son, and giving up sacrifice, and this would be maybe a stand they could take to, the sacrifice of their son to save others. And it really helped them make the decision, and Spirit, I believe the Spirit, spoke to them and comforted them. And it was the hardest decision that I've ever seen my dad have to make. And losing a brother is one thing, and a mother losing her son is a whole other ballgame. So, I don't regret it at all, I think. Everything that we've been able to experience after, I'm really grateful that, I had feelings that I did, and I acted upon them, and went with them. So as you're, I guess in this environment, working with people working with people, and having to make a decision, try to bring up the blessing that it will bring to others, and regardless of their pains the same way, that it's brings joy, brings a lot of joy out of it. And grateful to have Charlie alive. And his family actually had Jaden and I gave us tickets to the Padres last year. Went down and had those box seats right where they hit the home runs out in the left field. And, it's great to have him here today. And I learned that Charlie had actually spoke a lot of times, and I learned that almost 10 years into it. That Charlie had kind of taken up some of that work. So, any questions for me?
Yeah, it's really good to be here. And I mean, I really mean that. And in situations like this, you know, I've done this a lot. Kids, adults and stuff, and it's always around different themes. And this is kind of the first time to really be able to have a group that's in a position to be direct advocates for organizations. So, in a way, with the time that I have before you, it's really kind of a two-pronged thing. I mean, we're looking for that connection, but we're also trying to look for a way to really make it meaningful within the context of DMV.org. And I think what you can dig already is that the gravity of the decision that had to be made by Richie's family, you know, it carried to this day. And what you guys are in a position to do is find a way to present the opportunity for individuals to make the choice for themselves, and thereby liberating family, friends, and loved ones from having to try to make that decision. Because if you do not make that decision for yourself in a variety of states, it will come down to your survivors. If you have blunt head trauma and you're in a position to donate organs, they are going to come to you and they're going to ask you to make some decisions. So in the moment of your loss, you're going to have to try in some sort of way to put yourself into the future. You're going to have to try to go through all these machinations. And you're going to be asked questions like, well, what would you like to donate? What parts of this person would you like to give up? And you're going to be given a list of things to choose from. Do you just want to do it all? Do you want to, is it just the skin? Is it the bones? And so while you're already digging the fact that this person who means all these things is now toast, you now have to say, well, how would we carve them up? What will we do? And then try to say that that's going to work out and go through all the things in whatever lexicon, whatever your lexicon of beliefs are, to be able to navigate that. So we don't want people to have to make that decision. We want to make that decision. And so it's finding a way to empower people to make that decision for themselves. And that's the super awesome place that you guys find yourself. And so I think that's the top shelf of what we're doing here, right? I think that's the marketing component of all that. There's so many things to tell you about the experience, because for me the experience is 18 years old, because I was dying for 6 years before I got a transplant. The top level discussion of that is just the Cliff Notes version is I'm 30 years old, I'm starting my legal career, I'm a rocket ship of success, I'm the first person, I put myself through school, I'm killing it, I'm doing all sorts of stuff. And this is in the land before the Affordable Care Act. So in graduate school, putting myself through school, what have I got? Well, I've got the campus insurance. You know, so if I break my leg, I can go get a cast. If I get the flu, I can go get some antibiotics. But I'm 30, I'm not worried. You know, well, I get some bronchitis, I think. I think I'm getting bronchitis. I can't seem to shake it. What is it? I'm an avid weightlifter. You know, I weigh like 60 pounds more than I weigh right now because I thought, you know, looking like a fire plug was a good thing to look at for a man of my size. So I'm doing that, and I'm out of the gym. It's pissing me off. I'm trying to keep it all together. I just can't shake the bronchitis. So finally I say, well, you know, I'm going to go back into the gym. I'm going to just sweat it out. And I go in and I do my normal workout. And the whole time I'm doing it, I feel like I'm killing myself. It really hurts. It just sucks. But I'm focused. I'm going to get through it, and I keep doing it. And, well, you know what? I was killing myself. Because I went into congestive heart failure right at the end of my workout. But I didn't, you know, I'm tough, I'm solid, I've been through things before. I don't need to recognize that right now because the mind is very powerful. And so I last 3 solid days in congestive heart failure without going to the doctor.
Wow.
I'm taking a shower just before I go to the emergency room, and I'm looking at my body and I'm thinking, damn, I've gained a lot of weight. I really have been out of the gym. But really what I gained was 50 pounds of fluid because I was in congestive heart failure. But I did not see that.
Wow.
So I rolled to the emergency room. They said, whoa. They took some x-rays and they said, you need to go see these guys. And so there were the heart doctors, and I rolled in. I saw the heart doctor. The guy picked up a model of the heart. He set it down right next to me. He said, see all this part of your heart? That's gone. And you are going to need a heart transplant. Game on, right? Now I have a pre-existing condition. Now I'm uninsurable. Now, so ultimately, long story short, the only way to get access to the coverage I would need would be to be disabled. I had to be disabled before I was mentally ready to be disabled. And then it started a 6-year odyssey of dying. And many things happened during that 6-year period. But, you know, long story short, the final 2 years I didn't dream because I didn't sleep. I was wasting. I had the wasting. I don't know if you know if that is common. You know, if you know anybody with AIDS. But it also affects you when you're dying. You begin to shed. You just waste away. But, you know, the more I wasted, the more people, because I didn't advertise my illness, many people didn't know me as sick. I mean, I still did things. I had a company. I did things. All had to be on the down low because I was disabled, and I was trying to, you know, pull money in whenever I could, but I couldn't work, you know, by the government because I would lose access to healthcare. But every time that people would see me, they would tell me, God damn, you look great. The more I wasted away, the thinner I got, the more people thought I looked fantastic, but it was really just that much closer to death. So again, it's that whole mindset. What do you see? What do you perceive in people? So it gets to the end just before, you know, and I can't even shower without throwing up because I'm in such oxygen debt. I'm pretty much finished. By this time, I have a 6-year-old daughter. And I have a daughter because my wife and I got pregnant when my heart exploded. We got a little jiggy with our birth control, and then she got pregnant. And then she had to make the decision, well, what does she want to do? Does she want to be a single mother? Because I was pretty much wasted at that point. At that point of the process of being as sick as I was, they gave you a 50-50 chance to get off the table, even if you got a heart transplant. So she had to make some decisions, and she ultimately, in her, you know, she's in her 20s, she's also a rotten person, doing things. She just said, well, you know, I'd rather have a piece of you and be a single mom. So she goes for that. Naive, of course, but it turned out to work out for her. So So I got a call in the middle of the night, and as you often do, because most people these things seem to happen in the middle of the night. And I carried around a beeper for a year and a half. And I had already had a dry run, because when you're a transplant person, you're on the list. They run in tubes, because they can only tag you so much for a heart. And the last antibody test can only be done when the organ is in hand. And so you take two people that they think show the best markers for the intended organ, and then there's a primary person and there's a secondary person. In the case of the primary person, it doesn't match up, then the secondary person gets it. So I ran secondary once. The primary person got it. Quick aside there. I had a really bad feeling about that. I was running secondary. I knew there was a low chance I would get it, but I just had this tremendous feeling of dread. And I really wanted to leave the hospital and step out of the secondary position. But I knew I couldn't do that because then I would have been labeled a psych case and I would then have been demoted down in the transplant. Because I wouldn't have shown myself mentally prepared to accept the organ. So I rolled with it, I stuck with it. Primary person got the organ, died on the table. So that was that. So second time, a month later, this is a month later, I get the beep, 1 o'clock in the morning, it's time to roll again. You never really are ready for that. And I went, and this time I was go. And I got it. I ended up hanging out and meeting with my transplant team. They told me that they had never seen a match like that. They said it was as if Richie's heart was mine. It fit me perfectly. I woke up in the ICU. I felt better than I had in 6 years. 5 hours later, I was on exercise bike. 5 days later, I left the hospital. Those are all records. At the time, I have never had an adverse reaction to anything. I have never looked back. I am the picture child for transplant. That was 12 years ago. I've got to watch my daughter grow up and graduate from high school. I've got to get back in the game. I basically got a whole other shot. So that's the top level of that connection of what it is on the opposite side when the family goes through that pain, loss, and then is forced to make the most difficult decision of their life. They make that decision, and then here I am. I got told their hell began, my hell ended. Life is opposites. You know it's hot because you know it's cold. All these things are like that. Everything is happening at once. What I think is, what I'd like to tell you about now are just some things that I've experienced. Because outside of what you're going to do, we're going to promote organ donation, but there's just some things, that, it's a tremendous, as I say to people, if you have the opportunity to have a life-threatening illness that you're going to recover from, I highly recommend it. Because it does something to you. It clears things up a little bit. You see, like I said, before I got sick, I was a rocket ship person. The first person who's going to put myself through college, I'm an attorney, I'm doing all these things. Let's go get it. And man, it's just... And I got back to my house, a place that I had lived in the same house since 1968. I sat in my backyard. It was like the first time I'd ever seen my backyard. I knew it was my backyard. I had it. It felt like my backyard, but it was brand spanking new. And, it was because I was actually present in my backyard at that moment.
Yeah.
And so I didn't, you don't put that together. I just had, I just practically died. I had died. I'd come back, so there's no contemplation of that. A couple of years later, I'm laying on my back with my now 2.5-year-old daughter because I have gone from this rocket ship person who's an attorney, who's an achiever, who's all these things. I'm now 100% disabled. I'm bankrupt. I am the father of a 2-year-old daughter, 2.5-year-old daughter, who I have absolutely no intention of ever being a father. And we're laying on our back in the kite park off the Fiesta Island watching the kites fly. And at that moment, I realized I was free. And it was such a mind, just such a mind game, because I was free not because of anything other than the fact that I was bankrupt, completely disabled, and I was out of the game. And what I mean by the game, I mean about the things that we're doing in this society, the striving. I was off the grid. Nobody cared about me. I had just beaten my student loans on my own, representing myself. I stepped away from $175,000 in debt. The only way you get out of student loan debt, death. I had an illness I was not going to recover from, but they kept after me. They took me to court, but I beat them on emotion, so that's massive. And I did it with the education they paid for. And I would have been happy to pay them because they made it possible for me to get that education because I didn't have a pot to piss in on my own. So I was happy to pay that, but when I got sick and I told them, hey, I'm sick, they wouldn't let me slide. They wouldn't give me any space. They kept calling and hassling me and hassling. I'm dying. Here's my, but we digress. So I'm laying there, we're looking at the clouds, I'm free now. So that's now this next level of realization of, whoa. Okay, so at first I saw everything as brand new, and then I realized I was off the grid and I was free, and I had always envisioned that moment. I thought this moment was gonna come later in life when I had the money and the power and the respect and the fear of my enemies because I'd become this mighty pavad, Supreme Court justice, and was dictating the way things should go. And I just achieved all those things that we're striving for every day. But there I was. And so it continues on because I just keep getting sicker. In the first couple of years of the illness, I was able to live on the fitness level that I had at that point because I was extremely fit. But that fitness level faded, and then as I got sicker and sicker and sicker, on my way to not being able really even to bathe myself, things happen. Your relationship to your body changes. The way you identify the thing that you call yourself starts to get challenged. Mm-hmm. I will spare you the gory details of all the minutiae of what you lose, but you begin to lose things. And as you do, you have to constantly reassess yourself because, well, if I'm not this big attorney person or this job person, well, that seems to be pretty easy. You can shed that. Well, then I'm not this, and then it just keeps moving. Things just keep leaving. But with each thing that got taken away, I got a little bit closer to things that I found remarkably rewarding. And when all I had to do was get through the day, my day was, do not die in front of your daughter, because I was subject to sudden death at any moment. Do not die in front of your daughter. Get into the gym and do whatever you can. Cook the family meal. Repeat. That's what it came down to. At that simplicity meant that I was present for every single element. It took all the energy in the world not to die in front of my daughter because I was dying. And I was constantly having symptoms of sudden death, and it was just this epic thing. And I had to drag myself to the gym, but I did so because, better to die trying than sitting and waiting. And then make that meal. And since every meal very well could have been the last meal, I got extremely good at cooking. Extremely good at cooking. And we ate well. And that simplicity, it was beautiful. I got really good at dining. I realized that everything that I was striving for, I already had it. I had people that loved me, people that I loved. And I had the time to share it. And every connection, every day, I spent time with people. And I really spent time with them. And life was remarkably good. So then I get a transplant. Like I said, I'm the poster child for recovery. And I'd still done stuff up to that point, but after the first year or so of the transplant, I felt great. Then all of a sudden I started taking things back down off the shelf, started companies, it's all on again, like this. And 3, 4, 5 years out, I'm back in the game. And even though I had this great ledger, I said, well, you know what? I'm only going to do what's fun and interesting, or insanely lucrative in a short period of time that doesn't result in me going to jail. This was my criteria, right? But I still got into the, I still started stuff up. Well, it doesn't matter what I did a bunch of stuff. But as I got farther away, I started, all the things that were ingrained inside me started coming back. Well, then I was living in the future again. I was tripping over what had transpired that maybe I didn't do very well. Because what do we do? Most of the time, where are we most of the time? Yeah, past and future. We're thinking about, we're pissed off about something we didn't do right, and we're still reliving it, or we're thinking about what we've yet to do. And I got right back into that. And I started to get really unhappy. And so here I am, completely healthy. And I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my life. It's remarkable how healthy I am. All second chance of life, the whole thing. But then I was bitter. I was starting to get bitter and unhappy and depressed about stuff. So we are just conditioned. Just know your conditioning. Everything about our society, it's about that. It's hardwired in all of us. It takes a lot of work to stay right now. And if there's anything I can leave you with, it's that I bet that everything that really is important to you, that really makes life worth living, is already present in your life. And you can still strive, you can still go out and get those things that you want, but through that effort, just never leave what's happening right now. Take the moment. Look at the tree on the corner from your house. Sit down and really listen to whoever's talking to you. It's all right there. It's right now. This is what's happening. What we're doing right this moment. This is all there is. And your clothes might get better, your house might get bigger, your car might get shinier. None of that matters. I've had it. I've had the money. I have succeeded. And I've given it all back away. All the shiny stuff. It's the connection. It's the love.
Thank you.
That's all I got. Because of the amount of time that you have, you're just got to do your thing. Obviously a lot happened during this time. There's a lot of significant things that happened to me physically. There's a lot of stuff that transpired. I am available to you. If you want to call me, talk to me, email me, whatever. You've got friends, you've got people that are sick, you've got people that are dying, you've got people that are going through this, whatever. If there's something you want to talk about, I'm happy to talk to you. I understand now. One thing that was hard for me to get my mind around in the beginning because you know, we all talk to people about different things. We all do things through our professions and stuff like that. But I understand that what's happened to me is significant, and it's significant because of how people relate to it. So I'm completely available to you, and whatever comes up. There's nothing that you want to talk about that I don't want to talk to you about. So anytime.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, sharing this way we did, and Charlie, yourself as well. And just a couple last pieces to kind of pull it together. Richie wanted to become a chef. So that's
Yeah, I wrote. See, the way that it works for to hook up is through UNOS. UNOS covers, controls communication, and so as a transplant recipient, you have the opportunity to write a letter, if you choose, to the donor family that expresses stuff. And so I did so, and in the way that I concluded my letters, you know, ultimately, because what do you really say? Right? What do you really say? So, I think I said something about, you know, being able to, you know, watch my daughter grow and all that. But ultimately, I finished it by saying, you know, I'd just like to give you a hug and cookies and dinner. Because that was the lesson that came through for me, you know, was that having the moment, having the time to give somebody a hug and listen to them and cook them a nice meal and eat it with them was the ultimate thing for me. It was the expression. So that's how I finished it. So it took his mom a long time to be able to write back, and she did, and then it took her a few more years to be able to get to a place where she could do that. But then she did. She came over to my house. I was able to give her a hug. I was able to cook her dinner.
Awesome.
as we're wrapping up. Steve, is there anything last thing you want to say to kind of wrap it up at all on your side?
Just like to thank everybody for being here today. And Richie's friends got to get the show and everyone noticed and faces I haven't seen for a long time. It's really great that you came out.
Final thing to say here is, you know, we've had a lot of options on how we might be able to participate in making societal impact on our website. And I think there was a time when we just wanted to kind of just do everything, like let's solve all the world's problems. And in getting real, we also got simple. And so I'm so glad that we actually really just leaned in and say, hey, we can't do everything, let's do something. We do something, let's really lean into this conversation. And Jack and Tina and everyone else who's been like a personal advocate for this topic, I couldn't be more thrilled and more proud of this company for investing time, investing energy, to be able to ask the question, hey, how can we actually help to save lives? You know, we're doing well, we're making money, we've got traffic. Now let's do even more. And so I'm excited for what's been done. I'm excited for the rest of 2014 and how we can responsibly and iteratively continue to lean in to become even more expert at helping our site users to consider registering as a donor. This situation is one. That's one. And so for us right now on our website to be sending 1,000 people every month to register as an organ donor That's a lot of ones. And every one that ends up being a participant in organ transfer sends out huge ripples on both sides of that equation. And if we can continue to increase that, we can continue to lean in more and more heavily to help a lot more ones, a lot more stories like this to transpire in a way where we can help and support in deeply tragic experiences having a little bit more meaning, and deeply terminal scenarios having a little more.